Hello, Car Online here. Elon Musk has recently called for the people of good to cancel their Netflix subscriptions in response to controversy involving blatant transcoded children's shows on the streaming service. Good call and all. But why does it take a billionaire at the zeitgeist of culture to point out the obvious? Or is it that the majority of us didn't need pointing out, but rather be made to stand on business? I think to myself sometimes that we've been dulled and made numb through so many methods of self-indulgence through the ease of access to entertainment and engagement that we have metaphorically and, to an extent, quite literally, turned the blind eye to the nefarious ongoings right beneath our noses. I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence with what I'm trying to say. At least that's not the intention. However, this has been a long time coming. Ending your subscription to a streaming service is not exactly going to be the end-all be-all. It is hard to admit it, but the people of good have been ceding culture to bad actors for decades, to people that want nothing else than to erase our values and what we believe and stand for from culture and replace it full of transhumanist, woke ideology. And this is where I must call a spade a spade. We have been losing the culture war from the cradle to the graduation stage. The left has been infiltrating our institutes and infecting every medium of entertainment there is, systematically, brazenly, unimpeded. The tendrils of their influence have rooted themselves deep into our culture, though you don't have to look hard at all to notice this, but you do need to scratch the surface to sniff this shit out. Now, unsurprisingly, Elon Musk is being met with an onslaught of pushback from leftist maniacs for his call to action against Netflix, which puts focus on the clearly biased and inappropriate messaging that the streaming service is allowing on their platform and is directly aimed at children and preteens. Many are arguing that there is nothing wrong with these cartoons and that it rather helps kids build the courage to find who they are and explore their gender. Earth to creep leftists, this is unmistakably grooming. There are myriad shows out there aimed at young adults with characters, scenes, and arcs that heavily lean into themes relating to or are revolving around LGBTQ sentiment. And I wouldn't bat an eye at any of these. Why? Because even though I have not personally watched these shows, even I know the intention is not to subvert parental guidance and supervision. Any underlying or current tones are well within the intended narrative for shows like The Amazing Digital Circus or Has Been Hotel, to name two. Unlike a kids show, where everything is front-loaded and in your face to make the message as obvious as possible. Take Dead End Paranormal Park, for example. Regardless of plot or other character interaction, the show features a gay transgender teen boy, clearly written to depict the internal and external hardships that these people go through.
It's not the park. It's me. I'm trans, Norma. And everyone at school knows, and everyone at home knows, and being here, it's like a whole new place. I can just be Barney, and I can choose if and when I tell people. I've never been happier, and that's saying something when I spent today chased by terrifying zombie mascots.
Not only that, but the show even has scenes where the character is shown kissing another male character. And in a minor note to the argument, it also features demonic possession and animal and human sacrifices. I'll be the first one to say that's pretty fucking metal. The demonic shit, not the gay stuff. And to tell you the truth, I would have raised my hands and said, that's fair game, let the show carry on. But that is if, and only if, the show would have been rated appropriately with a TV mature rating, not a TV Y7, which is a rating given to shows aimed at children. While looking up details on the aforementioned show, I ran across this post on Reddit. Because of course it had to be a Redditor. It goes, and I quote, LGBTQ is not something to hide from children. Parents complaining about that are homophobic and transphobic. It's not even a big part of the show. This whole think of the children argument is a disgusting attempt to make the LGBTQ community seem more like a phase or a kink. I could go off on hours how these homophobic parents are just being ignorant and awful people, but I won't waste anyone's time. I just know I'm really upset hearing people say a character I relate to so heavily, I'm a gay trans man, shouldn't be seen by a child. Meaning I shouldn't be seen by a child. I am a wonderful human being. I shouldn't have to be hidden in the shadows or have a warning placed on me that I'm LGBTQ because of someone else's bigotry. Some elements may be scary to a sensitive 7-year-old, but there is nothing a 7-year-old can't overall handle in the show. End quote. I was going to preface what I was initially going to say about what I just read with a sort of disclaimer, almost like easing an opinion in on a topic where I don't have much of a leg to stand on. You know, like a decent person. But after reading it over again, nah, fuck that. This is creepy as hell. First of all, on the initial point, calling parents transphobic and homophobic for complaining about and turning away LGBTQ topics from what their children interact with? Well, what mandate is out there calling for parents to introduce sexual orientation to children? And the think of the children argument as an attempt to paint parents as ignorant and disgusting. Do not confuse ignorance with guidance. LGBTQ is inherently in touch, and deeply so, with sexuality. Sexuality in principle shouldn't be anywhere near a kid's show. If anything, sex education should be a subject that is discussed and built upon methodically and gradually as the child grows, not a free-for-all on children with liberal and gratuitous depictions of LGBTQ relationships. Don't worry, I'll build up on that point shortly. Now let me make this clear. No one, and I mean no one, has the right to tell parents what their kids should and shouldn't watch. This is a two-way street, and yes, that unfortunately means there are parents out there that are proponents of this message and gleefully put their kids up to grooming. The creeps. The smearing can go both ways. As for disgusting, I find it disgusting that this person wants to be noticed by children. The rest of the post then argues that parents are awful people for disappearing this apparently wonderful gay trans man, whatever that means. Isn't that just a lesbian? By not allowing children to watch this gay trans boy on the show with whom the Redditor relates to a lot. Why? Why should children be aware of you being LGBTQ? Why can't you let kids be kids? Are you aware of the opinion the general public has about LGBTQ? Especially when it comes to kids? And that hit to your reputation comes from within. We only call you creeps for being creeps. I could also go on for hours about how you people are absolutely unhinged, pushing your perverse ideology and hiding behind acceptance and tolerance while having nefast intentions. The outrage about calling out these Netflix shows does not come from the erasure of trans people. I would rather argue that, finally, the people of good have had their attention turned to this campaign, and the pushback on their propaganda on the most vulnerable is what has them seething and foaming at the mouth. Admittedly, the show has long ended its run on Netflix, starting in June of 2022 and ending in October of the same year. But why do we have to react now, 3 years later? Just take a look at what's not in the limelight and has been published on Netflix Junior since, for example. Who knows how much of this contains the same themes we're complaining about right now. And worse yet, and my biggest gripe, is parents just let their guards down and sit their kids in front of a never-ending playlist of this content. This type of shit instills itself passively into the development of children. And yes, children are very vulnerable to the power of suggestion and passive installing of belief and ideology, believe it or not. I would much rather indoctrinate a child with traditional values and raise a well-adjusted adult, i.e., a normal upbringing, rather than, this. And that touches upon yet another convention completely taken over by the left and its agenda: education. If these people become this unhinged from a few years in university, imagine the effect of a lifetime of round-the-clock brainwashing, a combination of media and public school curriculum pushing loony bin-worthy, unemployed behavior. Which is ironic when you think of what the purpose of institutes of educations were first intended for, but I digress. Maybe this is the intention now, and you know what? I think I can prove it to you. And what better way to point out the insidious intentions of the people in charge of imparting school curricula than to take a look at some of the books that were distributed and made available in K through 12 school libraries. I'd like to put key focus on two particular examples. These two books were at the center of the 2021 scandal that involved books of this ilk being introduced into public school libraries, and some even made mandatory reading. The first book, Genderqueer, a Memoir, by Maya Kobabe, and the other book found in school library shelves, This Book is Gay, by Juno Dawson. Trust me, there are far more books featuring this same content, just like these, sitting in your child's school library today. I guarantee it. Those two were just an example. The former is written as a chronicling of the personal struggles the author, Kobabe, was going through growing up. Finding it hard to come out as non-binary, Kobabe wrote this story to convey in writing what was lacking to get across verbally. Listen, my respects. Completely understandable. I don't necessarily sympathize with those particular struggles, but I do connect with conveying more compelling ideas through writing. Now, I don't know what Kobabe's stance is on having the book available to children, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point. The author is not the problem. It is the powers that be that gave the order to publish this book and make it available for children to read. Children have absolutely no business being introduced to scenes where a young Kobabe, struggling with identity and physicality issues, is thinking of how it would feel to have a dick, to put it crudely, or when they had worn a strap-on dildo that some other character then proceeds to give oral sex to. I am genuinely convinced that the majority of people would have zero issues, absolutely zero issues, with groups dedicated to helping young adults that are struggling with gender identity. Genderqueer, a Memoir, would be perfect material for an individual dealing with these proclivities, seeking guidance, and even someone to relate to. I don't doubt for a second there is someone out there that this book has helped through a tough time. But I will say adamantly, these subjects are not to be discussed with children, let alone be made available for them to read. And then you have the latter, This Book is Gay, by Juno Dawson. I don't even want to talk about this book. It's straight up smut on certain chapters. This shit was made available to children. MSNBC even argued that this book gave better and more comprehensive sex education than whatever curriculum was already in effect in schools. I really didn't want to read this book, so instead of ranting about it to you after reading it, let me read you some excerpts from the book. And keep in mind, this was made available to children. Alright, so let's start with the cheat sheet here. And it's basically all the terminology that is used throughout the book, and all contained in, notes. We start off with 69. You can read the definitions as I scroll by. I'll read some that pique my interest. We start off with 69. We all know what that is. Asexual, bisexual, blowjob, bottom, circumcised, cisgender, clitoris, coming out, cunnilingus. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because of how absurd this is. Curious, questioning, dildo, dom, douching, drag queen, king. I've never heard of a drag king. Fellatio, foreskin, gay, glory hole. I haven't read this, so it kind of hit him in the face as I do it. Oh my god, I'm too close to the microphone. I'm gonna have to fucking bring down the volume after. Glory hole, grinder, HIV, intersectionality for whatever reason, intersex, labia, lesbian, lube, short for lubricant, makes sex easier. Wow, good to know. Orgasm. Orgy, that's good. Penis, alright. Poppers, slang term for amyl nitrite, an aroma that gives a feeling of lightheadedness. Alright. Queer, genderqueer, rimming, licking the bottom. Scat, which is, eating poop. Everybody likes that one. Scissor sisters, strap on, STI, sub, top, act being the partner who gives. Oh, all right, there you go. Yeah, look at that. Transsexual, transvestite, vibrator, water sports, golden shower. Oh my god, what the fuck? And then we come to the what I found to be the most egregious part of the book is where it teaches kids how to use sex apps, like Grindr, I guess. Here we read how sex apps work. Upload a tiny pic of yourself to the app. The app works out your location. The app tells you who the nearest homosexuals are. You then chat with them. Because they are near, it is easy to meet up with them. I don't even know what to say about that part. It's just as crazy as it sounds. I mean, this book almost reads like a satire, to tell you the truth, but it is absolutely 100% serious. And in another note, and a bit, not self-aware at all, and I found it hilarious, is how to argue with Muslims. It explains, the good news is the Quran is on your side. It's on your side, gay people. Nowhere in there does Allah state a punishment for homosexual behavior. What's more, the Quran actively encourages diversity, as Allah created that too. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Take it for what it's worth. I don't know. And then finally, we move on to this little funny list of how a guide to recognizing your saints, which lists out a bunch of celebrities and other influential people that are or are very supportive of the LGBTQ community. It's pretty long. You can pause if you'd like. So, yeah. Those are just some of the comprehensive and inclusive contents of the book. There are also many stories and personal accounts told within that argue in favor of whatever point the chapter is trying to make. But the little bit it can build on those arguments, it's all done away by just how perverse and heavily sex-coded the rest of the book is structured. I cannot for the life of me be convinced that this book was written for kids and young teens. And maybe this is why and how books and titles like these can make their way into kids' schools. Perhaps many of us couldn't ever conceive the idea that deranged ideologues that want to cultivate this type of culture have access to our children, or that they ever had, for that matter. But it is becoming more and more clear with each and every scandal that comes to light that our kids are front and center in the culture war. What better way to propagate your cause and make it millions strong than to instill into young developing minds this leftist ideology, an ideology that through the stranglehold it has on institutes and mediums of entertainment have dictated for decades now what is at the center of culture. And alarmingly, seeing their control threatened, they have resorted to put to action the fruits of their indoctrination with violence and even murder. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The fight to wrest back culture from the jaws of defeat has just taken a pivotal turn in our favor. The people of good have begun to take action against corporations and even politicians that peddle left-wing ideology through boycotts and, more importantly, awareness of whom is running for office, not just for general elections, but for those running for local office. We cannot solely rely on the most prominent of us to call out the bad actors. Do your due diligence and sniff out the suspect out of what you expose yourself and your family to. Do not be meek in your response either. Be a staunch on where you stand and don't let up. You owe it to yourself as an individual with values that are in the crosshairs of the left. Thank you very much for listening. Comment your thoughts down below. Please subscribe. And as always, God bless you all.